Hi everyone. Today we are going to learn about k nearest neighbor or KNN algorithm. So let's start with what is KNN. So KNN is one of the basic classification algorithm used in machine learning, and its main focus area is pattern recognition, data mining and many more. So let's see as how this KNN algorithm work. So this is an example plot in which there are two categories, category 1 and category 2. Now before applying KNN, we are taking a new data point somewhere in between of these two categories. Now after the KNN algorithm applies in this example plot, we get that the new data point is belong to category 1. So let's see how this decision is taken place. So let's learn see the step-by-step explanation of KNN algorithm. So the first step is to choose the number k of neighbors, which means we have to choose the k neighbors of these new data points, and the default value for this is 5. You can choose any value you like, but the default value which is used is 5. So now we are going to step 2. Now we have to choose these 5 points with the help of Euclidean distance. So the points which are 5 points closer to this new data points with the Euclidean distance are its 5 neighbors. Now in this step 3, among these k neighbors, count the numbers of data point in each category. Now these are the 5 neighbors which are nearest to this new data points, and now we will count the neighbors in each category. The category which has the more neighbors, the new data point will belong to that category. So category 1 has 3 neighbors and category 2 has 2 neighbors. So it's obviously that the new data point will belongs to category 1. So this is our step 4 and the KNN model is ready. So this is the basic concepts of KNN algorithm. Now we will see this in practical use. So let's see its implementation part. So here is the implementation part. As always, our first step is importing the libraries. The second step is importing the datasets. So let me run this code and import our dataset first. So as you can see, this is our dataset, consists of 5 columns: user ID, gender, ages, estimate salary and purchased. And from this dataset we are going to use 3 columns: age and estimated salary as our feature of matrix X, and purchased is our independent variable Y. So this is a feature of matrix X, consists of age and salary, and the independent variable Y consists who is purchased the product or not. So now after this we are going to split our data set into train and test sets. So let me run this code and split our data set. So as you can see, our data set is splitted into train, X train, X test, Y test and Y train. Now after that we are going to apply feature scaling, because in classification the libraries we are using for our model to train does not implicitly apply this feature scaling, so we have to apply it explicitly. That's why we are applying the feature scaling on our X train and X test. So the feature scaling is applied. Now you can see they are in the same range, salary and age. Now after that, the main step, which is the generation of our model, and for this we are using as always sklearn library, and from sklearn we are using dot neighbors module, and from this module we are importing k neighbors classifier class. Now the class is imported. Now we have to initialize our object. So classifier is the name of object, which is equal to the name of class, and here are the parameters which we are going to use. So let me show you which all are the parameters this class is having. Now the first parameter is n neighbors, which is the number of neighbors you want for a new data point. So as always we are using the default value 5. Now the second parameter matrix, which is a default parameter. If you don't mention it, its value is Minkowski, and this metric equal to Minkowski is used for Euclidean distance, and the p is also a default parameter and its value is also equal to 2, the default value, and it's also used for Euclidean distance, so this you have to remember. Now after initializing our object, now we have to fit our model. So classifier.fit x train comma y train. So let me run this code. So our model is trained now. Now after that we are going to predict our x test results. So now let's see, this is our y test and this is our y pred. So as you can see, the first all of from 1 to 7 the predictions are correct. There is one incorrect prediction in 9. So and to see what are the total incorrect predictions, we are going to use confusion matrix. So let's run this code of confusion matrix and see our confusion matrix. So in this matrix, the diagonal opposite to the principal diagonal, that is 4 plus 3, which is equal to 7, are our incorrect prediction in this total model, the prediction of models. So this is the practical approach of KNN. So thanks for listening this video.
Hello friends, welcome to the course on machine learning. Today we are going to start with a new concept, that is SVM. Now in regression there was a concept like SVR, support vector regression. This topic is quite similar to it. It is SVM, that refers for support vector machine. Now SVR was for regression and support vector machine is for classification. So first we are going to start by getting an understanding of intuition behind the working of SVM, and then we are going to implement it in our code. So let's get started. First of all, let's say we have some data points, as you can see here, these red data points and there are green data points. Now we want to make a classification model which is going to classify these data points as red and these data points and green. So our model is going to create a line which is going to separate them as well effectively. The best fitting line can be like a horizontal line, it can be a vertical line as you can see here, and it can also be a diagonal line. Now there can not only can be one diagonal line, it can be anything like three diagonal lines like this and like that. Let's say there are three models and all the three models split both the red data points and green data points. Now but these model, I mean this best fitting line doesn't affect the data point for training but for the testing. This line is important for the classification because it is going to classify the data point. Suppose let's say we have a data point around like here. So for the first line this, it is going to classify it as a red data point, but the second line, that is the middle one, which is going to classify that red data point as a green. Now it is required to have an optimal line which is going to split and classify all the data points effectively. So in order to do that, we are going to use the margin concept, that is similar to the SVR. So to do that, it is going to fit the model with a line with the maximum margin between the data points, and these data points will be equidistant from each other. Now these and the data point that is going to choose will have a specific property for like it is going to pick a data point from the red data set which have the most traits common with the green data points compared to the others. So for this red data point will have more traits compared similar to the green data points compared to these, and similarly for green data set this data point will have more traits similar to red data points compared to this data compared to the remaining data points. So it's going to pick those data points and going to create a line to fit this in such a way that they will be equidistant from each other and will have the maximum margin between them. And in this manner they are going to create a model line, then they are going to create a line which is going to split and classify both the data points. And that's why these data points will be referred as support vectors. Now the margin and equidistance and the best fitting line will only depend on these support vectors. Even after, if you have only these two data points and suppose like these data points are not available and these data points are also not available, there are only these two data points are available, so the model is not going to change because it depends on only two these data points. Now, why these data points are referred as support vectors? Because I mean, it's just a two-dimensional. Suppose there are many variables like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in 3D space, these data points are referred as vectors, and I mean, they work similar to as vectors. So that's why they are referred as support vectors, because they are supporting our classifier here. As you can see here, these data points will be treated as a support vectors. Let's say we'll start with an example. Suppose we want to make a classifier that is going to classify oranges and apples. So let's say there are data points like there and here which are of the apples and normal oranges and like that. But support vector machine doesn't work on them to classify the object. Else it works on the exception. As you remember, I said before that it depends on the data point with the traits most similar to the another class, that so it will be like it's going to classify on the basis of the apple. As you can see here, this apple looks similar to the oranges, and similarly it will treat it will also take an orange that looks similar to the apple and things like that. As you can see here, is this green orange? Oranges are usually orange, they are not green, and it's less bumpy compared to that, and it looks similar to the green apple. So it's going to take exceptional data, and then it's going to fit line on the basis of those by taking them as a support vector and creating a line, or I mean splitting on the basis or using a line with the equidistance from those data set and with the maximum margin between them. So that was the basic intuition behind the working of SVM. So let's try to implement it in our code. As you can see here, let's start by importing our required libraries, which is NumPy and Pandas. After importing libraries, let's say we have a dataset social network ads.csv. So let's say using the same dataset, let's create a data frame named dataset using pandas library dot read csv function, and then we pass the csv file, I mean our dataset. After that, we used dataset iloc method and created our independent variable and dependent variable x and y, and in which we pass colon for all rows and 2,3 for age and salary, and similar to that we use colon for all rows for dependent variable and 4 for our output, which is purchased or not purchased. We use dot values to convert it into array. So after executing this line of code, as you can see here, that's the data set that we are using: user id, gender, age, salary and purchase. And we created two variables, our independent variable x, age and salary, and our dependent variable y. Now after that, first we are going to split our data set into training set and testing set. So let's say from sklearn.model selection, we import our function train test split, and then we are going to use it to split our both the independent variable and dependent variable into training set and testing set. So we are going to pass xtrain, xtest, ytrain, ytest equals to our function train underscore test underscore split, and then there we pass x comma y, our independent variable and dependent variable, and then we specify text size, which is 0.25, that is 25% for testing and 75% for training, and then we specified random state equals to 0. Now after that, we need, as you remember, we need to apply feature scaling on it, because age and salary are not quite comparable. So we are going to use it like from sklearn.preprocessing, we are going to import standard scalar class, and then we going to create a class an object of standard scalar class, that is sc is equal to standard scalar. After that, we are going to apply feature scaling on both xtrain and yxtest. So let's say xtrain is equals to sc dot fit underscore transform, which is going to fit the feature scaling first, and then it's going to transform the training set. So we are going to use sc dot fit underscore transform function, and in which we are going to pass xtrain. After that, we are going to apply feature scaling on testing set. So xtest is equals to sc dot transform x underscore test. We only used transform because we already fitted our feature scaling on data. We are going to transform it in using feature scaling. Let's execute the above the line of code. As you can see here, we got xtrain, xtest, ytrain, ytest. Now after that, you can also see that we apply feature scaling on xtrain and xtest. Now we are going to import support vector classifier, that is our classifier class, models class, already available in sklearn.svm. So we are going to import it using from sklearn.svm, import svc. Now after executing that line of code, we are going to create an object of svc. Let's say we create a model named classifier equals to svc, and then we are going to pass kernel is equal to linear and random state equals to 0. Random state is equal to 0 for not using the random data points for more training, and in not picking random else. Now here kernel is equal to linear. There are many types of kernel already available for training. As we are going to use linear here, we are going to get an understanding of the kernel or why it's required in the next session in the kernel SVM. So let's put it linear as it is, and then we are going to put random state equals to 0 here. We don't want any random equips of data points for our training. So after executing this line of code, it's going to create a model named classifier, as you can see here. After that, we are going to fit, or I mean train it in on the basis of training data. So we are going to use classify.fit, and then we are going to pass xtrain and ytrain here. Let's try to make prediction using our classifier. So we are going to use ypred equals to classifier dot predict, and in which we are going to pass x underscore test, that is our training set data. After that, as you can see here, that's the prediction that our model made, and extra y test is the prediction actual value. The y test is the actual value, so you can compare these values. They are totally similar. As you can see, our model make prediction 0 0 0 0 0 0. They're also 0 here, and it's 1 on the 7, and 8 9 10 are 0. So it seems that it's making good predictions. So in order to get the accuracy, we are going to compute our confusion matrix. So for that, from sklearn.matrix, we are going to import confusion matrix first, and then we are going to create an object of confusion matrix, that is cm is equal to confusion matrix, and then we are going to pass both the values, the actual value and the prediction, so ytest and ypred. Now after that, this is the cm, that the confusion matrix that we just created, and as you can see here, the above values are actual value, and the value on the left are the prediction made by our model. As you can see, the actual value was 0, and our model makes 0 also for around like value 66, and the actual value was 1, and our model made a prediction of 1 also for a value around like 24. So as you can see here, it makes quite great prediction, and adding the value 66 and 24, it gives 90 out of 100. So the model making prediction and the accuracy of 90%, and that's quite great. So that means our model making quite great prediction. So that's it for our today's session. In the next session, we are going to start by understanding the kernel, what is the use of kernel, why it required, and we are going to understand the concept of kernel SVM. Now that's it for our today's session. Hello friends, welcome to the course on machine learning. Today we are going to start with the concept that is about kernel SVM. In the previous section we have seen about SVM. Now today we are going to just try to understand what is kernel and why it is required in the SVM, and what is the use of it, and what is the intuition behind it, and how it works, and things like that. So let's get started. First of all, you may have seen this image before. I mean, in this we have some certain data points that are available, which is green and red, and then we try to use a SVM to create a line. Here in machine learning, that splitting line is referred as hyperplane. So the SVM model will try to create a hyperplane which will try classify these data points, and which will be like this, a linear straight line between both the data points. Now certain cases comes when we can see data points like this. As you can see, the red data points are surrounding the green data points, and we can create a line. I mean, we can create a hyperplane, or model can create a hyperplane which will split the data points or to classify them. Now even if you try to create diagonal line, vertical line, horizontal line, I mean you can split or classify the data points using a using a linear separator or a linear hyperplane. So how are we going to deal with such problems? So to deal with that, there are different type of kernel available to us. Now what is kernel? Just think of it kernel as different type of approaches to split or classify these data points, which can be anything, and they have their own different mathematical functions. We are not going to deal with the different mathematical functions. We are just trying to understand them. So as you can see, even if you create a line which classify all the green data points above, you can't classify the red data points. So the model accuracy will be low using a linear kernel. Why it is? Because the data points on the right hand side, they are not linearly separable, and they need to be linearly separable. So there are various kernels. What they do is they try to make it a linear separable using their different approaches. So let's say, as you can see, this is the example as same as before. Let's say we want to classify green apples and yellow lemons, and we are using our SVM model. So if you use a linear kernel, it's not going to make a good classification. So in order to do that, we are going to use non-linear kernels. There are various non-linear kernels available, and the best and default one is RBF, that is radial Gaussian function. And other than that, there are other kernels available such as polynomial, linear, and etc. Now how they do is they try to add another dimension using their specific function, which will split these data points. And think of it like that, and think of this axis, or think of this 2D visualization as you are viewing it from a top view, and when you try to view it from a side view and use another axis which is here x2, then it will be like clear here that the green apples and yellow lemons will be different from each other on the specified function which is applied on x2. And then our model will try to create a hyperplane which will split them. To understand that, let's try to see a simple example. Let's say we have data points available here, and we are viewing from side view. You can think of it as a top view will be the same as before. Now you can see the green apples are surrounding the yellow lemons. Let's say we added another dimensionality by adding another axis which is x2, and we will apply a function which is x square here. We all know that the x square function create a curved line from 0 on both right hand side and left hand side. Just think of it that applying this function over this axis, and then projecting the data points over the axis, you can see that the green apples will be on the curve and yellow lemons will also be on the curve, and you can create a hyperplane which will split these data points from each other and will make a classification model. You can see that the green apples and yellow lemons are now separate. They are not linearly separable, they are now separate because of adding a new function by adding another dimensionality into it, which means we are making this 2D dimension space into a 3D dimension space by adding another dimension. Now there are different types of kernel available such as linear, poly, RBF. As you can see, this is the linear kernel that we use, it is the RBF kernel, and it is polynomial kernel. There are different type of kernel available in our SVC class. You can see here linear, poly, RBF, sigma, pre-computed, and they all have their different approaches to split these data points to make it a classification model accurate. And they all have their pros and cons. You can try to change the kernel in our code, and you can try to change and play around with the code of the previous section by changing its kernel and check its accuracy, that how accurate it's predicting. As you can see, this is the whole code that we understand in the previous section about the SVM. All we are going to do is just we are going to change the value of kernel that is available here, which was linear first. We applied RBF here, and it's by default RBF2. So let's try to execute this. You can see that it created a confusion matrix, and you may remember the accuracy was around like 90% from SVM using a linear kernel. You can see here it makes the classification with accuracy of around like 64 plus 29, that is 93. So it makes an accuracy of around like 93%, which is 3% more than the previous. So it's quite great. You can try to play around with the code, and by changing the kernel to different values such as sigmoid, poly, and Gaussian, and others. Now that's it for our today's session.
Hi everyone. In this session we are going to learn about decision tree classification, and this is going to be a very short session because I'm only going to explain the coding part and not the concepts of decision tree, since the concepts were discussed in the previous videos of decision tree regression. So I'm only going to explain you the coding section here. So let's start with the coding section. So the first step is importing libraries, the second is importing dataset, and the same datasets we are using for all our codes for practice, and the third step is we are splitting, as you all knows. Now the fourth step, which is a much important step if we want if we are training a classification model. Now then we are going for the fifth step, which is our main step, our training model set step. So for this we are using sklearn module. So from sklearn.tree we are importing decision tree classifier as the class. Now after importing class, our object has to be initialized, so it's classifier equal to decision tree classification. Now in this we have to provide two parameters. The first is criterion, and this is used for the homogeneous splitting of the data. As you know, in the concept section I told you about how the decision tree algorithm works by splitting our data sets into different regions. So this criterion parameter is for this purpose. And now the second parameter is random state, which I already explained. So now after initializing our object, we have to now fit our model. So classifier.fit xtrain comma ytrain. So let's run this whole section from this to the top. So our model is trained now. Now we have to predict our x test. So it's predicted. Now let's see what is ypred here and y test. So you can compare the correct and incorrect prediction years, and if you don't want to serve this and waste your time, then you can directly run the confusion matrix code and see what are the incorrect predictions. So as you can see, there are 6 plus 3 9 incorrect predictions. So our model is good than the previous models we learned. So this is all about decision tree classification. If you have any doubt, please discuss to us. Thank you. Hi everyone. In today's session we are going to learn about random forest classification, and I previously discussed the random forest regression concepts and theories. So the concepts are the same, but in this classification module we are going to use a different sklearn library for the classification, and the rest of the concepts are similar because the random forest is same. So let's start with the implementation part. So the first 3/4 steps are the same, that is importing our libraries, the importing our data sets, which is social network, which is we using from previous models only, and the third is splitting our data set. Then after the feature scaling, and then our main important step, which is training our model. So for this we are using sklearn.ensemble module, and from this module we are using importing random forest classifier class. After importing our class, now we have to initialize our object for this class. So the object is as always classifier, and which is equal to random forest classifier class. And in this class we are going to pass three parameters. The number one is n estimators, which is the number of decision trees, and the value we are using here is 10, which is the default value. Now the criterion parameter, which is equal to entropy, is used for homogeneous splitting of data set, and the third one is random state, which is equal to 0. Now after passing the parameters and initializing our object, now we have to fit our model. So classifier.fit xtrain comma ytrain. So let me run this code from here to the top and train our model. So here our model is training, as you can see in the console. So our model is trained now. After training our model, now we will predict the result. So this is ypred, which is the prediction of y test. So this is y test. So you can see that for first 10 observations are same, only the one is incorrect. So if you want to identify the total incorrect prediction, then we can use the confusion matrix and see what are the incorrect predictions. So 5 plus 4, which are 9 incorrect predictions. So this is similar to the decision forest classification. So this is all about random forest classification. So here our classification algorithm finishes, and after that we are going to the new chapter, which is unsupervised learning, and see what will happen in there. So thank you for listening this session.